Hello, everyone. Rukhsi from Creatifecundity Incorporated is here with a special day of service activity on Martin Luther King Jr. Day today, which is a tradition initiated by President Biden, Vice President Harris, and the Biden Inaugural Committee last year on Martin Luther King Jr. Day 2021. Last year, on this special day, I hosted an event in collaboration with the Biden Inaugural Committee where I introduced a new perspective for racial equality. The feeling of collaborating with the Biden Inaugural Committee was so uplifting, like an overjoyed, spiritually surging tidal wave, elevating us to a sense of unity. Collaborating with the Biden Inaugural Committee was a beyond extraordinary experience last year that I wish I could continue it every year, minus the COVID symptoms. For all of those of you who are single and in relationships, the Biden Inaugural Committee is a role model for you with the qualities their members had of being highly supportive, reliable, concerned, compassionate, and embodying of mutual, equal give and take relationships. The perfect partner. How I miss you, Biden Inaugural Committee. I am continuing this year in honor of you, Biden Inaugural Committee, President Biden, Vice President Harris, Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King, Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, Deb Haaland, and our civil rights leaders who are both outside and inside this world for racial equality and justice. As COVID still has seized my voice, I will be doing less talking in today's video and more expression with my hands. I am hoping you will all join me for today's activity. All you need are a piece of paper and markers of different colors. Let's begin. I'm first using the black marker. And with that black marker, I drew a circle. Draw your circles. After this circle, I am going to take a red marker and draw a squiggly line. Draw your squiggly line. Now what we have here, the circle represents the United States. And for those of you abroad, join us in depicting U.S. history. The red squiggly line is a representation of the original inhabitants of the United States, the indigenous, Native American, and Pacific Islander peoples who lived on the land and who experienced the ups and downs of life. Next, I'm going to take the red marker again and draw a squiggly red line across the circle, representing Native American tribes in the north, south, west, east of the United States. Why did I choose the color red to represent the Native American people? The sachem, which is a Native American word for chief of the Western Mohegan tribe and nation, explained to me the racial history of the United States when I visited his tribe's reservation and mentioned the color red as representing the Native American people. Next in history, we have European American settlers coming to the United States. So I'm going to leave a white colored space next to each of these squiggly lines to represent white European American pilgrims and settlers in the US. Following the settlement of white European Americans in the United States, we have the journeying of African American people to this land. And in accordance with the sachem's color scheme, I'm using the color black to represent the African American race. And I'm going to take the black marker and draw squiggly lines spaced apart from the Native American group and the white European American group represented by the white space to signify African Americans settled in the north, south, west, east of this land. After African Americans came to the United States, we have immigration from Latino and Hispanic Americans, and with them, I am also going to include Middle Eastern Americans and represent them with the color brown. So I'll take the brown marker and with the brown marker, I draw the squiggly line representing the ups and downs of all the racial groups in this land and their location in the north, south, west, and east of the United States, following Latino and Hispanic American as well as Middle Eastern American immigration to the United States. We have Asian American immigration to the United States, to whom the sachem attributed the color yellow, but I am going to be using the color orange as it stands out more to represent Asian Americans. So we have the orange in the north and orange in the south, orange in the west and orange in the east, representing Asian Americans and the ups and downs they endured in this land. And then I am going to color in so that we have equal representations of each race in the land. After coloring in the various racial groups, let's take a look at our United States. Notice the equal, unimpeded, and vibrant expression of each racial group. The Native Americans and Pacific Islanders, the African Americans, the Hispanic and Latino Americans and Middle Eastern Americans, the Asian Americans, and the white European Americans. No race is replacing or superimposing on the others. Each race is equally represented. This is my redreaming of the United States and each country around the world where different ethnic and racial groups are equally and justly portrayed and receive equal amounts of resources so that no member of that racial group is ever living below the poverty line or deprived of resources. Every person of every race deserves to be wealthy. And those who are wealthy need to recognize their privilege and redistribute resources for equal wealth allotted to each person of every race. When that wealth is equally distributed to each racial group, let's see what happens. The descendants of each race, their future generations grow and thrive. Native Americans and Pacific Islanders, African Americans, Latino and Hispanic Americans and Middle Eastern Americans, Asian Americans, and white European Americans. Guess what we have depicted here? This is a dream catcher. In Native American tradition, dream catchers are handmade symbols of protection that catch negative dreams and only allow positive dreams to filter through. In honor of Martin Luther King Jr. Day and his I Have a Dream speech for racial equality, I have redreamt the United States, which can also extend to every country in the world, with racial, which can also include religious, and economic equality, instead of the negative history that led to the subjugation and oppression of our minority racial and religious groups. This dream catcher is redreaming a positive present and future for all our lands, where people of every race and faith are wealthy, healthy, and overwhelmingly happy. All of you watching this video, I ask you to share this video of my dream here with the people in your lives and reach out to people of diverse races and faiths and extend your support and friendship to them. This dream can only be realized with your active and ongoing engagement. Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to this channel. I leave you with Happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day with the Redreaming Racial Economic Equality Dream Catcher.